Tonight on Let It Rip.
This stuff is not going to happen overnight like that. It's going to take some time for us to get out of here. Hopefully it won't take as long.
But how long will it take for the blue wave we saw in the Michigan legislature to get work done? Now that the governor has support in Lansing, will we finally see relief in skyrocketing car insurance prices? What else will the blue wave serve up? And what do Republicans have to say about the biggest priorities? We dig in. But first,
in order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
The former president wants the job again, but does the Republican Party have faith in Trump, or are they ready to move on? We take a look at the pulse of where the GOP stands. And so let's get right to it. Joining us on Let It Rip, Representative Terrence McCoskey, the Republican lawmaker from Macomb County, is here to chime in about a party divided. Will Republicans choose to travel with Trump on the ride to a potential White House showdown, or will they want to drift towards DeSantis instead? On the Democratic side, former candidate for governor and political insider Abdul El-Sayed. Always good to see you. And by the way, our anchor attorney Charlie Langton, who always has his hands on the pulse, is otherwise involved with the community today, hosting an event. But we, of course, are ready to let it rip, and we thank you both for joining us today. I got to ask you first, Representative McCoskey, as a Republican. You heard Trump just the other night talk about how he wants to be the next president of the United States. Is that the best thing for the Republican Party right now?
Well, I really do believe so, Roop, because I believe that the president needs to finish what he started. His first term, he did an amazing job, whether people want to believe that or not. Unemployment was down for everybody. We were coming back, you know, we had our own oil supply. We were producers. We had a lot of things going for us that in just a lousy a year or so since the Democrats have taken over, that has went by the wayside. And I think Trump is right on a mark of what he can do in making America great again.
You know, Abdul, you heard a little bit about what the former president had to say when he was at Mar-a-Lago, talking about all of his accomplishments, as though the last 2 years have been dim and not good. When you heard those comments, what was your reaction?
I mean, with all due respect to the state representative, I have to say that the idea that Donald Trump can rid himself of the narcissism that keeps him talking only about the notion that he thinks he lost an election that was completely free and fair, that to me is absurd. And you look at where we are as a country moving forward, coming out of the kind of leadership that we've seen, bipartisan action on everything from infrastructure to the climate, to taking on the challenges that real people face because of inflation. You recognize that we have been better under Joe Biden, and we will continue to be better under Joe Biden. The last thing I want to say is that the last time Donald Trump ran for president, I mean, these are fever dreams that we're still starting to get over. This is a man who nearly upended our entire election system, and the notion that somehow we are going to make America great again by leaving the one thing that makes America what it is, this idea that we can actually elect our own leaders, seems to me to be just an absurdity. And I think we need to move on. The party needs to move on. Donald Trump was the biggest loser in the 2022 midterms, and the notion that he's trying to revise history just seems laughable.
Representative, when you take a listen to the fact that this former president endorsed so many people who lost, and here in Michigan, it wasn't a good look for him, wouldn't you say? I mean, that was a pretty poor showing in terms of those who he endorsed. Christina Caramo, DePerno. I mean, these were not ringing endorsements that worked, wouldn't you say?
I think those were all folks that should have been winners that were not picked up by the Michigan GOP soon enough.
But wouldn't Trump's endorsement have helped them?
It didn't.
Why?
It should have. The Michigan GOP was not in line step with President Trump. And if you look at what happened and to see that the Michigan GOP only started helping these candidates within a week or two of an election, if you've been familiar with the election cycle, if you're not ahead of the game before the ballots go out for our absentee ballots, this is almost 76% now, which is 6 or 7 weeks prior to election day, you're not going to win that election.
Representative, in between all of what you talk about that happened with Biden, there was something that happened, of course, on January 6th. Good or bad, had those been Democrats who stormed the Capitol and the shoe was on the other foot, and it was Antifa running that show that night, that day, what would you have said that would be different than what happened on January 6th? Would you call it an abomination of democracy? Would you call it an abuse?
I don't support any type of. Been a law enforcement officer, Rupe. You know that my whole life, city, state, county, and federal. I've never endorsed nor advocated violence or breaking the law. We're a law of nations, and which we have to live by. I don't believe my President Trump in any way caused that. He made a speech. People acted. You have a lot of folks out there who were failing now to give people responsibilities and blaming somebody for their actions.
But he's actually promising to pardon those who were involved in the insurrection. Do you support that?
I would have to look at each incident separately, because a lot of the videos that we have seen, this isn't a done deal that this insurrection or this occurred by Republicans or Republicans only. Same way with the election. I've looked at a lot of things with the 2,000 mules, with the election process. There is real evidence there that fraud occurred. If you have one fraudulent vote, that's a fraudulent election.
Different topic, though, but the way you handle something like that by storming a Capitol, the people who did that, should they be pardoned as the president says they should?
They should be punished for what they did. But you also got to look at what Antifa did. Let's be fair across the board. We've always been fair across the board. We can't take the same action, somebody going into a building or breaking a window, and charge them with a 20-year felony when they would charge somebody else with a 6-month misdemeanor. Let's get real. Let's be fair. We're turning this into a two-class system with the elite and the powerful, instead of getting back to what we should have in America, which is all of us working together.
Abdul, you want to say something, and I want to move on to another topic.
I just, out of respect for Representative McCoskey, he is someone who has worked in the system, and he is someone, because of Donald Trump, is going to sit in the minority because the party chose to run representatives who are enthralled to Donald Trump more than they are to the people that they claim to have wanted to serve. The reality of it is that you cannot believe that we are a nation of laws, and then both sides, something like the January 6th insurrection, we either are a nation of laws and we respect the outcomes of elections, or we are a nation where you want to talk about the elite, you're talking about a billionaire from New York, right, who gets to dominate your party and then try and end around our entire democracy. To me, that looks like elites running the show. I respect you deeply as someone who wants to serve the people.
Let's switch gears for a quick moment and talk about this showdown and what it could look like. Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, like Back to the Future. Here we are again. Think for a moment about the people who are voting for the first time, who are 18 years old, and those who are 14 the first time, and then they watched this in the last 4 years, and they're going to go to the polls. Why do we have two 70-something-year-olds running against each other in a country filled with youth that are looking for new energy? Don't you think, Abdul, that the Democratic Party also has to look forward and look into a talent pool that's deeper than the shallow waters that they're looking at now?
I mean, I think we have a pretty amazing talent pool. I mean, you look at just coming out of this 2022 midterms, folks like our Governor Gretchen Whitmer, folks like Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania, folks like Jared Polis out of Colorado. We've got a great talent pool. The reality is that the president is a first-term president. He has led in a moment of real acrimony in our society. He has managed to bring people together to pass bipartisan legislation to take on some of the biggest challenges in America right now, and I think he has the choice as to whether or not he wants to run again.
But if this race is going to be decided, if Joe Biden decides to run again on kitchen table economics, if you talk to the average person out there, they're not better off than they were 4 years ago when it comes to the money in their pocket and what they're paying just to get to work and to buy food. That's going to reflect poorly on Joe Biden, wouldn't you say?
I mean, so you've got a situation where you have global inflation that is affecting the paychecks of people around the world. And you've got a president who has rolled up his sleeves to try and make people's lives better despite it. You look at what he's done on infrastructure to make sure that we've got roads and bridges that are competent, but then people also have broadband to be able to start internet businesses, all kinds of things that are consistent with a 2022 economy. You look at the Inflation Reduction Act and the fact that we are reducing the price of prescription drugs for people. You look at the CHIPS and Science Act, investing in a supply chain that does not require us to be importing from China the things that we need to make cars here in the United States.
But what about the spending? What about the spending, though? Because the spending has been overwhelming, and any Republican will look at you square in the eye and will say, wait a minute here.
Ridiculous.
He opened up the checkbook and wouldn't stop writing checks. That's a lot of money.
I want to be clear about something, right? That spending started in the setting of a global pandemic that President Trump failed to lasso. So you cannot point to Democrats and say that spending is all on you. That was spending that was truly bipartisan because it came under 2 different presidents, including Donald Trump. And in fact, I would argue that if we were serious about inflation, the moment inflation really kicked off was the moment we were unwilling to actually invest in basic science to take on a pandemic that then set us into 2.5 years. We're still dealing with it because we failed to have competent leadership in the moment.
Representative, we've heard from many Republican leaders, both here in Michigan and elsewhere, who say it's time for some fresh faces. And many people are pointing their finger at Ron DeSantis and saying that this is a man who espouses the family values more so than Donald Trump, the kind of value system that allows someone to run a campaign without insulting and slamming and calling names to these other folks. Isn't that where the Republican Party wants to return to?
Well, I think all across our Republican Party, from Michigan to every state in the union, we need to look at the process. Our process is horrible right now. We're running the same people over and over. These people are not adding anything to the gene pool. We're not getting good quality candidates. We have kingmakers within our party, within our Michigan GOP, that want to tell people where they're going to put them and who they're going to run. That's my big fight with our Michigan GOP. They had to bring a sitting senator down who has almost twice my age, who was a career politician, to come on and take me on as a rep to take me out because they don't want a voice in there saying that we don't need kingmakers. I feel every woman, man, boy, girl, auto worker, millionaire, working at the 7-Elevens, pregnant female should be able to run for office. We're missing that whole pool because what we have right now is a system that places people in these positions.
But, sir, does Ron DeSantis return us to a place where there's decorum and civility in the Republican Party that many people say has been missing with Donald Trump at the helm, with his name calling and some of his
Ron DeSantis is a great candidate. We also have to remember, though, that to be a politician and to be the President of the United States, unfortunately, there are very many folks that are arrogant and have that narcissistic attitude. This guy is qualified, though. I think he's got it to an extent, but to be a billionaire, you almost need that. This guy is a qualified businessman who has ran more businesses, more wealth through his hands than pretty much anybody around. And we want to say this guy isn't qualified? Who is qualified if he's not a career politician who has done nothing? We have so many career politicians that haven't even had a job out of college, and they're running our country.
Abdul?
I would argue that a man who failed at being president the first time is probably unqualified to be president a second time. I'd also argue that, look, I don't think Ron DeSantis is going to pull us out of this. This is somebody who took on his own initiative the opportunity to fly migrants from one state that wasn't his to another state that wasn't his. The truth of the matter is that the Republican Party is in thrall to an ideology that is fundamentally opposed to the ideals that this country is built on. And whether it's Ron DeSantis or Donald Trump, we're still in that kind of trouble. I would love to see an honorable public servant, like my colleague, actually call it how it is. You've been dancing around this question of Donald Trump the entire time. You talk about kingmakers, and there's no one who has done more to try and kingmake in the party to his own detriment and the party's detriment than Donald Trump. So we just got to call it how it is.
Well, that has occurred in certain situations, but the kingmakers in these local races and in the state races have to go. We need all of our qualified people to be able to run for office and to be there for the people.
What we're seeing right now in Macomb County is very much what we're seeing across the country. As is often the case, we're looking at a party divided. We have, the Republicans in Macomb County who are trying to figure out who they are as people, as a group.
Right.
Can they sort this out and clean this up, you think?
We definitely can. I think Macomb County, I tell you, is from what I can see, the most educated county in the state as far as people getting involved with politics and wanting to be involved and learning their different politicians in their area, learning their bills, learning what they need to know to make an educated vote. And still, most of my constituents are mega people. They're for Trump, and they believe that he can bring us out of this debacle that President Biden brought us into.
Ultimately, it's going to be up to every single person watching on the other side of that camera. I want to thank Abdul El-Sayed and also Representative McCoskey for your time today. Thanks for your time. We're out of time for this segment, but when we come back, the Trump factor will color the way we look at politics, both in Washington and here at home. But while there's a split between the House and Senate in Washington and Michigan, it's a blue wave. What lawmakers hope to achieve? We tackle that next on Let It Rip. Welcome back to Let It Rip. Lansing flips and is all blue, it seems, as Democrats flood Lansing in last week's election. Lawmakers have their work cut out for them, but what are the top priorities? Joining us is Democrat Sherry Gay Dagnogo, current Detroit School Board member and a former Democratic member of the Michigan House of Representatives. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here. Thank you.
And also Jamie Rowe, a familiar face, a well-known Republican political consultant and regular on Let It Rip. And we should start right with you, Jamie. I wanted to talk to you about where we left off with our last panel. Donald Trump, you were a supporter of his for a short time. Do you still support him?
I think I agree with Vice President Pence that we're going to have better options in 2024. And if I had to pick right now, I think I would be going with Governor DeSantis of Florida, who showed just how strong he was. He said the other day, look at the scoreboard, and Democrats look at the scoreboard in Florida, and he put a lot of numbers on it.
Did Trump's speech change anything for anybody watching, you think?
I think it was a lot more of the same that we've been hearing from him for a while. I was glad we didn't get election denial, to be honest with you, and I think there's more to be heard, and we are going to have more candidates, and I think we're going to have better candidates.
Sherry, you take a look at what happened here during the election. In Macomb County, Governor Whitmer ended up winning Macomb County against Tudor Dixon in an area that has a lot of Trump loyalists. What did that tell you?
Well, it tells me that after these very divisive presidencies, having someone who has ushered in such vitriol and hate, that the people of Michigan are tired of that. And they're looking to go forward, not backwards. And so it also says that Governor Whitmer has a lot of muscle and grit, as she always talks about. And she was able to outrun the Republican nominee for governor, and we're grateful that she took it to the mat. I mean, she really took it to the mat, and that victory is going to set us on the right course in Michigan, with not only the governor winning, but having a majority in the House and the Senate as well.
Were you worried on election night that there would be denying that was going on and the election deniers would come out? And what did you think about Tudor Dixon congratulating the governor the next morning?
Well, so, I mean, she's a smart woman. You know, while I may not agree on all of the policies that Tudor stood for, we sat here right on this show and talked about gun control when she was first starting, and so I didn't agree with her then, and I told her that I don't think you're fit to be governor. So, you know, I'm grateful, though, to see that we had two women running from both parties. I mean, women should stand proud throughout the state of Michigan, but I'm grateful that the governor was able to be victorious. I'm glad that she did not try and deny the election, but I'm glad that the courts weighed in on election day to make sure that it wasn't possible for her to do that.
Jamie Rowe, before we move on to some local politics, back on the national front here, where is this Republican Party? When you're an insider, when you talk to people, what do the numbers look like in your mind when it comes to those who support Trump and those who don't?
Well, I think we've seen a number of polls out in recent days showing that Governor DeSantis in many places has actually moved ahead of President Trump among Republican primary voters. And I think that we are looking for more for new options, and we have them. We have some great governors around this country, starting with Governor DeSantis. Governor Youngkin from Virginia is another one who has shown that he is strong, and what different Republican governors around the state or around the nation have made, and I think that is going to show itself in this primary season. And you know, I want to vote for someone who can serve 2 terms. I want to vote for a candidate for president who can serve for 2 terms. President Trump could only do 1 more term, and I want someone who could serve for 8 years.
And someone that might not be indicted.
Yeah, that would help.
Well, Sherry, one more question to you about this national election here. When you take a look at where things stand, you heard the criticism of President Joe Biden. Any truth to that at all? When you watch the president's performance in the last few years, is there anything that you look at where you go, wait a minute, what are we doing? You know,
it's been tough. I mean, we have to be, regardless of which party we're in, we have to be honest about the impact of COVID and our leaders having to shift gears without even acknowledging or expecting a crisis, a pandemic of this magnitude. We all have criticisms, but until we have to serve in those roles, we can sideline, make recommendations, and what things that we like to see different. There are a number of things that I like to see different. I like to see, now that we have a Democratic majority in our House, Senate, and the governor's office, that we actually do complete the promise that President Biden made with respect to to those who are continue to be locked up on felonies with respect to marijuana, making sure that we truly do have criminal justice reform addressed. I think he did a resolution or passed a resolution which stopped short of his initial commitment. But hey, I think there's opportunity for us to take the lead with the resolution at the state level now and really fix the problem that the president spoke about prior to becoming elected.
Well, now that the Michigan and Lansing has flipped to blue, what are some of the things that you didn't think could get done before that can actually get done? And do you think they can do it without overspending?
First of all, I just have to shout out my colleagues that I previously worked with, Senator Brinks for now leading the actual Senate, Joe Tate leading the House, making history as the first African American to actually be Speaker of the House. I'm very proud to see that, and I'm so excited for those who will now get a chance to serve in a majority. I served all 3 terms in a minority, and that was tough work. And so 2 key issues that I stomped for was making sure that we have fair and affordable insurance. That's one of the high priority items that I think is still necessary. We need transparency with the insurance companies that are still continue to get away with absolute murder from my perspective. I think the earned income tax credit addressing our economy for not just wealthy business people, but addressing our inner city, our urban communities, and people who are struggling. Our seniors, the retirement tax, repealing the right to work. Making sure that we address prevailing wage, progressive tax base.
These are things.
Fair education.
These are things that can be done because you have the majority right now. But Jamie Rowe, when you take a look at all of this wish list that she's talking about here, car insurance, income tax credits, the earned income, all this stuff is going to cost money. Are you worried that the Democrats are going to open the checkbook and go crazy?
Well, I think that they likely will. I think the last time they had control of all 3 was 40 years ago.
Yes.
They passed the largest tax increase in Michigan history, which led to the recall of 2 Democrat senators and 40 years of Republican control of the state Senate. So if they do go that path, I think that they are looking at the same outcome, which will be return of Republican majority in the state House in 2 years. I don't think there's any question about that. Now, if they do deal with auto insurance reform, which I think should be at the top of their list, because that is something that does need to be fixed.
Absolutely.
And if the governor sticks to what she talked about, how bipartisan she was during the campaign, we'll see maybe they can fix that and get something done. But I think there is a long liberal wish list that they are going to deal with, and if they go down that path, I'm telling you what, they're going to go right back into the minority.
I talked to the governor
a
few weeks ago, and she basically was saying the reason she wasn't able to get so much done during her years as governor thus far has been because she's been blocked by Republicans. Do you think that changes now, and do you think that she'll actually get to do the things that she wanted to do? Jamie, first of all, do you believe that she actually will move forward with so many of these initiatives that she claimed Republicans were blocking?
Well, they have no excuse now. They have no excuse now. They have control of all the House and the Senate and the governor's office. So if she wants to put a massive income tax increase out there for Michigan voters, that she has the power to do it. And one thing that we're going to do, they will be held accountable. If they do go that path, there will be accountability coming in 2 short years.
So you know what? I have to say that the governor is an extremely smart woman. And serving with Winnie Brinks, I know that she's very measured. And so there won't be this now that the Dems have the gavel, but I think that there will be a lot of opportunities for bipartisanship. It's not a huge win, but it's a majority. And so we can't afford to lose 1 vote in the House. The lieutenant governor can certainly help put it in our favor in the Senate. And so this will be an opportunity for true leadership in the House and the Senate. And I believe that we're going to see, for the first time in a very long time, collaboration, bipartisan collaboration. I know people on both sides of the aisle that want to fix auto no fault and hold the insurance companies accountable.
And that is a bipartisan issue because everyone suffers by that, and we continue to know that who benefits from that are some of these companies. Right. Jamie and Sherry, we want to take a quick break and come back with final thoughts. We'll be right back. Sherry, final thoughts.
I'm looking forward to working with my former colleagues and those that are new in the legislature to make sure that we address the savage inequalities that exist in our schools, in our economy, and making sure that this $11 billion, $8 billion get put into the right hands, and it has diverse faces that are getting these contracts to address our infrastructure challenges.
Jamie Rowe.
Yeah, if Democrats in Lansing think that they want to take more money out of hard-pressed Michigan families' budgets, they're going to do it on their own, and they will be held accountable in 2 short years.
Do you have hope for civility and decency taking center stage in Lansing?
I do. I really do. I know people on both sides of the aisle, looking forward to working with them, been having some conversations ongoing. I think this is a grand opportunity to make sure that we now work together to get the things done that will move Michigan forward, and we got the right woman at the helm of Michigan.
All right, JV just kind of put his hands and said, we'll see, I guess, right? That does it for this edition of Let It Rip. We thank you for joining us.